The room fell quiet, the way it does when something important is about to be said. Glasses paused mid-air, conversations died out. My stepdaughter, Emily, stood at the front of the banquet hall with a champagne flute in her hand, her graduation gown draped casually over the back of her chair like the hard work was already behind her. Around 50 people were watching, friends, relatives, former teachers, co-workers from her internship. Everyone smiling, everyone waiting. "I just want to thank everyone who made this possible," Emily said, her voice steady, confident in that way she'd picked up during 4 years at university. "Especially my dad, who always believed in me enough to invest in my future. Dad, this engineering degree is as much yours as it is mine." She lifted her glass toward a man standing near the back of the room. Not me. Her biological father, Ryan Walker, who'd flown in from Calgary that morning. He raised his glass with a proud grin, soaking it in like sunlight. I was seated 3 tables away, beside my wife, Marianne, Emily's mother. I felt Marianne's fingers tightened around mine under the table. It could have been comfort. It could have been an apology. I honestly couldn't tell anymore. Emily continued, and of course, thanks to everyone else who supported me along the way. Her eyes flicked to me for half a second, a polite nod, the kind you give someone who once helped you carry a box. "Mark, thanks for everything you did." "Everything I did." I smiled, lifted my glass, said nothing. But something inside me clicked shut, not loudly, no dramatic crack, just a quiet, final sound, like a door locking from the inside. I met Marianne 23 years ago at a community center in Mississauga. She was running an after-school art program. I'd recently sold my late father's renovation business and was volunteering to stay busy, to feel useful again. We were both in our early 40s, both careful in that way people are when they've already failed once at building a forever. Emily was 7 then. Her father had left when she was 2, moved west, reinvented himself in tech. He sent birthday cards, sometimes called, promised visits that rarely happened. He was a voice on speakerphone, a man who existed mostly in stories. When I came into Emily's life, I didn't try to replace anyone. I showed up. That was it. Homework at the kitchen table, soccer practices in the rain, fixing a loose bike chain, pancakes every Sunday morning. I let her set the pace. She never called me Dad. She called me Mark, and that was fine. By the time she was 13, I was the one attending parent-teacher meetings. I was the emergency contact, the person she texted when she missed the bus. I didn't make speeches about sacrifice. I just kept showing up. When Emily decided she wanted to be an engineer, like Dad, I didn't flinch. I bought her books on structural design, cleared space in my garage workshop. We spent weekends building a model bridge for a science fair, running load tests, breaking it down, rebuilding it stronger. She won first place. Ryan sent a congratulatory emoji from across the country. High school shifted things. Emily grew more distant. Normal teenage stuff, Marianne said. But I noticed something else, too. Ryan's name came up more. My dad says, my dad thinks. Never mind that he called once or twice a month. When Emily got into Queens on early admission with a strong scholarship, we were proud and scared. Tuition was covered. Everything else wasn't. Rent, books, food, life. Ryan called that night. "I'll help however I can," he said. "That's what fathers do." Marianne wanted to believe him. So did I. The first year, Ryan sent $2,500. The memo line said, "For Emily's future." It barely covered the first semester's rent. I covered the rest. Second year, more expenses. Third year, more. Fourth year, even more. I didn't keep score on purpose, or so I told myself. By the time Emily graduated, I'd quietly paid just over $60,000. Tuition gaps, living expenses, a laptop when hers died during finals, co-signing a used car, adding her to my credit card for emergencies. Ryan sent money 3 more times in 4 years, always with pride, always with speeches. Emily never asked where the rest came from. At the graduation party, Ryan arrived early in a tailored suit, tan, confident. He hugged Emily like they were inseparable. Then he found me. "Mark, great party," he said, shaking my hand. "You guys really pulled this off. You're proud, right? Engineering runs in a family." I smiled. She worked hard. When Emily made her toast and thanked him, I stayed quiet. Afterward, Ryan cornered me near the bar, a little buzzed. "You know," he said, clapping my shoulder, "I appreciate you being there for the day-to-day stuff. Kids need stability, but the drive, the brains, that's genetics, right?" He laughed. And in that moment, I realized something simple and devastating. He believed it. And so maybe she did. That night, when the house was quiet, I opened a folder I'd never meant to look at, and everything changed. I sat alone in my home office long after Marianne had gone to bed. The house felt heavier than usual, like it was holding its breath. I opened the filing cabinet and pulled out the folder I'd been adding to without thinking about it for years. Bank statements, canceled checks, transfer confirmations, rent payments, grocery deposits, receipts I'd never planned to total. I did the math. Just over $61,000. That number sat on the page like an accusation, not because of the money itself, I could afford it, but because of what it represented. Years of quiet support that had been erased by a single speech and one raised glass. I opened another folder, the car loan I'd co-signed when Emily couldn't qualify. She'd been making most of the payments, but I'd covered the gaps when her internships ended early. Another couple thousand. Then the credit card statement. I'd added her as an authorized user when she was 19 to help her build credit. For emergencies, Marianne had said. The balance was $5,100. And then the lease, her final year apartment. I'd signed on as guarantor because the landlord wanted security. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt done. The next morning, I made calls. First, the credit card company. I removed Emily as an authorized user. The representative asked if there was an issue. "No," I said. "She's an adult. It's time." Then the insurance company. The car was still under my policy. Cheaper that way, Marianne had said years ago. I removed it. The agent warned me Emily would need her own coverage immediately. "She'll handle it," I said. I called the leasing office. I asked what would happen if I stopped paying should Emily default. They explained the process calmly. Collections, possible eviction. "I understand," I said. I didn't cancel anything that would strand her overnight. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was pulling back, quietly, completely. Then I transferred $20,000 into a separate account, money set aside for Marianne and me, for our future, not hers. Finally, I drafted an email. It was short, factual, no accusations. "Emily, I've made some changes to the financial arrangements we've had. You're no longer on my credit card. The car will need to be moved to your own insurance policy by the end of the month. I've attached documentation showing what I covered during your education. I think it's important you have the full picture. I'm proud of what you've accomplished. You're starting your career now, and it's time to stand on your own. Mark." I attached everything. Then I closed the laptop. I didn't send it yet. Marianne found me that afternoon. Her eyes were red. "What did you do?" she asked. What needed to be done. Emily had called her. Her credit card had been declined while trying to book moving expenses. The insurance company had contacted her. She was panicking. "She has a job starting in 3 months," I said. "She can apply for her own card. She has savings." "You're punishing her," Marianne said. "No," I said. "I'm stopping." "Stopping what?" "Stopping pretending that what I do matters to her." That night, we barely spoke. 3 days later, Emily called again. Not me, Marianne. I listened from the other room. "I don't understand. Emily said through the phone speaker. "Mark cut off everything. I called Dad and he said he'd help, but flights are expensive right now and things are complicated." Marianne came into my study afterward, tears streaming. "You need to fix this," she said. "No." "She's scared." "She made a choice." "She's our daughter." "She's your daughter," I said quietly. "I was the day-to-day stuff." Marianne flinched. A week passed. Emily moved back to Toronto, but not into our house. She stayed with a friend. Marianne visited. I didn't. "She's applying for her own credit card," Marianne told me one night. "She found cheaper insurance. She's managing." "Good." "She asked about you." "What did she ask?" "Why now?" I thought about that. "Tell her," I said, "that I spent 22 years waiting for her to see me, and at her graduation I realized she never would unless I stopped making it easy to look away." 2 weeks later, Emily showed up at the house. I was in the garage sorting tools when I heard her voice behind me. "Mark?" I turned. She looked smaller, quieter. "Can we talk?" She sat on the old stool by the workbench. Her hands were shaking. "I read the email. I didn't know. I knew you helped, but I didn't know it was everything." I nodded. "I called Dad, asked how much he'd sent. He wasn't sure. He thought maybe 15,000. He got defensive when I pushed." She looked up at me, eyes wet. "I'm sorry," she said, "for the speech, for not seeing you." I set down the wrench I was holding. "I don't want an apology," I said. "Then what do you want?" I looked at her, really looked. "I want you to understand something," I said. "Silence isn't humility, it's erasure, and I'm done being erased." She swallowed hard. "So what now?" she asked. "That depends on whether you want a relationship with me or with my wallet." Emily didn't answer right away. She wiped at her face with the sleeve of her jacket, staring at the concrete floor of the garage like it might give her the right response if she waited long enough. "I don't want your money," she said finally. "I want you." I believed she meant it, but belief, I'd learned, wasn't enough on its own. "Wanting isn't the same as choosing," I said. "Choosing means doing the work when it's uncomfortable." She nodded, slowly. "I know." The weeks that followed were awkward and quiet. Emily didn't move back home. She found a small apartment closer to her new job, nothing fancy. Second-hand furniture, cheap dishes, no guarantor. She handled the paperwork herself. When something broke, she figured it out. When money felt tight, she adjusted. She didn't call me to fix things anymore. And strangely, that's when she started calling just to talk. Dinner once a week turned into a habit, sometimes twice. We talked about her projects at work, the mistakes she made, the things she was learning. She asked questions, not because she needed help, but because she valued the answer. One evening, she came over holding an envelope. "My first full paycheck," she said, smiling like a kid again. "I wanted you to see it." Marianne cried. I didn't, but something in my chest loosened. In August, Emily asked if I wanted to see her apartment. "I'd like that," I said. It was small, modest, but it was hers. "I'm paying everything myself," she said, a little proud, a little scared. "And I set up automatic payments on the credit card. It'll be cleared in 6 months." "That's responsible," I said. "And the car loan," she added quickly. "I transferred it into my name. Took a while, but they approved it." She hesitated, then said, "I know I can't undo the speech or the years I didn't see you, but I want you to know I see you now." I nodded. "Thank you." "Can we start over?" she asked. "Not erase anything, just build something real." "We can try," I said. A year later, Emily invited us to her company's family day. Engineers showing off projects, pointing at diagrams, explaining things with the kind of excitement only people who love what they do can manage. She introduced us to her team. This is my mom, Marianne, and this is Mark, my stepdad. He's the reason I fell in love with building things. Not Ryan, not genetics, me. Later, she pulled me aside and showed me her bridge plans. Do you remember the science fair, 10th grade, the model bridge? I remember, I said. You stayed up 3 nights with me, she said. You taught me how to think, not just calculate. I didn't realize it then, but that was real engineering. You did the work, I said. We did, she corrected, and I never thanked you. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not a child, not a mistake, but an adult who'd learned something hard and important. You're welcome, I said. That night, Marianne asked if I regretted it, cutting Emily off. No, I said. She could have fallen apart, but she didn't, because she finally had to stand. She was angry at you, Marianne said. I know. But I think I understand now, she added. You weren't punishing her. You were refusing to disappear. That's exactly it. Time passed. Emily built her life, paid her debts, asked for advice instead of money. She introduced me to her boyfriend one night, an architect she met on a project site. This is Mark, she told him. He taught me how to build things properly. Later, alone in the kitchen, she said, I tell people about you now, not because I owe you, because I want to. Respect, I learned, isn't something you earn by staying quiet. It's something you require by knowing your worth. I'm retired now. Marianne and I are planning a trip east next summer. Emily asked to join us for part of it. We said yes. Ryan sent her a card last Christmas, said he was proud, wanted to reconnect. She told me about it over dinner. What did you say? I asked. I said if he wants to be part of my life, he has to show up for the work, not just the celebration. I smiled. Good answer. I learned from the best, she said. I don't know about that. I stayed silent too long, let resentment grow instead of speaking sooner. But I learned, and so did she. You can't make people see you. You can only decide whether you'll accept being invisible. I chose not to, and that choice cost comfort, but it gave truth. And truth, I've learned, is the only thing strong enough to build something that lasts.